I'd like to call this meeting of the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to order. Director or Assistant Mayor Teeters is on her way. At this time, we'll have Heather call the roll.
Assistant Mayor Teeters is on her way. Director Harris.
Here.
Director Hollibush.
Here.
Director Odom.
Here.
Director Minor. Here. Director Peavy.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. So, at this time, I guess I will do that since we'll keep rolling since she was there. So, if this time we'll stand and have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Gracious God, thank you for this day and all the blessings that you've given us, and be with us as we conduct the business of our city tonight, and be with each and every citizens that here, and just keep us representing our city to the best of our abilities. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Just a quick reminder, if you would silence your cell phones, and if you wish to address the board in citizens communication time, we have cards on the ledge there. If you wish to fill one of those out, it's not required. But if you get that to the city clerk, we'll have citizens communication time at the end of our board meeting. At this time, we have a special presentation tonight. We have a Texarkana, Arkansas firefighter, Josh Davis, with 20 years of service. This time, moving right along, first of all, I would like to recognize our former mayor. I saw her out there, Josh's mother, Miss Ruth Benny Bell. Thank you for being here tonight. At this time, we'll move into the consent agenda, items number 2 and 3. Director Harris and also myself, we would like to remove item number 3 from the consent agenda. So on the consent agenda will be item number 2, approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to
Okay. Have a motion, have a second?
Motion second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Director Harris, would you like to take up item number 3?
Oh, okay. My first, I was reading the words behind it, and they stated that they had I guess a public hearing. My first question is, when was the public hearing done, and where was it at?
I don't remember the exact dates of the public hearings, but I believe we had 3. And they were held at some of the community centers out there. I believe one was at Vera Bradfield, one possibly at Sand Flat. I don't remember where the others were, but there is a requirement for a minimum number of public hearings. Like I said, I don't remember the exact date and the exact location, but we did abide by those requirements.
Okay, and my other question, did anyone bring up about the swimming pool over there on Preston Street?
We didn't have anyone attend those public hearings.
You didn't? And my, I'm getting back into another issue that I know this came up maybe about 2 years ago about when you do have public hearing, is there some way that has the public being notified, and there's some mechanism in there that you're gonna notify the board member of the public hearing? Because I think I stated about 2 years ago about it was a public hearing, and like I said, I didn't know nothing about it, and I would like to attend the public hearing, and I thought it was somewhat agreed upon that that anytime there was a public hearing such as this nature here, that they were going to at least put a notification in the board member mailbox to notify them about the public hearing. So Is there a way, I know it's too late to do that now, but is some way, somehow can that be done in the future as to notify the, well, I'd say maybe the other person don't want that notice, but I guess I need to be speaking for myself. But I would like to know, get some type of memorandum or something, notify a public hearing special when regarding, to this nature here. That's basically all of what I had.
We do advertise in the paper. I also believe we advertise in social media. And I will get with our city manager on the other notifications.
Tyler, I just had a couple of questions just to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
we're clear since we're applying for a grant for these fields, because in the beginning, I was under the impression, especially when I looked at the HUD application, that we were actually applying for the HUD loan, which says it's to improve the safety and playability of the existing playing field surfaces, which means to me that some of that money would have been included in that 875. This leads me to believe that that was not the case, that there's not any money in there to do anything with these fields.
No, sir, that is strictly for the building alone. I'm not familiar, I'll have to go back and take a look at the HUD application.
Under the purposes of the loan, it lists that we are to do something with these fields. So I was just a little bit confused when I read that, and I'm all about getting and applying for
Yeah.
this free money. But I thought that, when we make an application for something, that application states what you're to do with it, and it states in there, in my opinion, when I read it, that we're supposed to be doing something with those fields, and I don't,
You're exactly right, and in our phone conferences with the HUD representatives, we explained to them that we have future plans for those fields, not necessarily for this loan. But I will double check that just to be 100% sure.
And then the last thing would be is, it's all about the money is, I don't see in the 19 budget where we have budgeted for the $70,000 matching if we were to get this fund. So where would that money come from if we were fortunate enough to get this grant to match it?
This will be for next year, for 2020.
year.
Yes, sir.
So you would budget it in the park and recreation?
Not
fund?
necessarily. There's other possibilities from where our match can come from. That's not nailed down yet. We have to secure the grant first, but before we ever go any further with it, we'll for sure nail down exactly where that money's going to come from.
All right. I mean, that's the way I would do business, is I would try to make sure I had the matching funds before I went and got it, and then told them I didn't have to have it.
So we've applied for these grants in past years. Currently, this year, we'll be building a concession stand at Pondexter Complex. Our match came solely from the A&P Commission. I imagine we'll request that again this year, but that's obviously not a guarantee. There are some other possibilities out there.
Okay.
But we are prepared to do that within Public Works budget if we need to.
Just one real quick question. Tyler, can we not include in-kind as well in terms of a match?
That's correct, yeah. I'm 90% sure with the Parks 50/50 grant, we can do some in-kind labor.
Okay, all right.
Which we won't be able to do it all with the force that we have, but we can certainly bring that number down.
Yeah, that's what it would be all about,
Yeah.
saving that money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Do any other board members have any questions about item number 3? If not, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas the City of Texarkana, Arkansas seeks to improve its recreation facilities and wishes to pursue grant funding assistance, and whereas in order to obtain the funds necessary to develop and/or improve such recreation areas, it is necessary to obtain an outdoor recreation matching grant from the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism, and whereas plans for such recreation areas have been prepared and the cost for implementing such plans has been established, and whereas the governing body understands the grantee and grantor will enter into a binding agreement which obligates both parties and policies and procedures contained in and within the outdoor recreation matching grant application guide, including but not limited to the following: park areas defined by the project boundary map submitted with the application must remain in the outdoor recreation in perpetuity, regardless if the property is bought or developed with matching grant funds. All future overhead utility lines within the project boundary must be placed underground, and the project area must remain open and available for use by the public at all reasonable times of day and year. Facilities can be reserved for special events, league play, etc., but cannot be reserved, leased, or assigned for exclusive use. and the project area must be kept clean, maintained, and operated in a safe and healthy manner. And whereas the Board of Directors are aware and apprised of the above-mentioned project and will provide the local portion of the development costs of the entire project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is hereby authorized to submit an application to the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism for assistance to develop recreational facilities in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, passed and approved this first day of July 2019.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve of the resolution?
So moved.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Is there anyone that wishes to speak about this resolution? Any board member, any further discussion?
Well, I just got one.
Yes.
This is at the old Boys and Girls Club, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, so I know that wasn't mentioned, so I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. If no other discussion, Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Present.
Hollowbush,
Yes.
Odom, Minor,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. Resolution passes. So moving right along to item number 4 on our regular agenda, we're going to consider the following action concerning substandard structures. We're going to conduct a public hearing regarding the condemnation of a substandard residential structure located at 309 Charles Street, and consider the adoption of a resolution condemning the residential structure located at 309 Charles Street. At this time, we'll declare this as a open public hearing.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the board, Mayor Brown. Public Works is seeking a resolution for condemnation of 309 Charles Street. Some of the criteria that we look at is whether the property's well or adequately maintained, accessory buildings need to be repaired, dilapidated fences, trash, debris, abandoned appliances, inoperable junk cars. The way we rate these is A1, A2, A3, and A4, depending on if it's in sound condition, needs a minor repair, major repair, or dilapidated structure. This particular address is completely burned inside and out. Our first notice was mailed on 12/17/18. We have got zero response back from the homeowner. We've tried to mail just U.S. Postal, and then we tried to do certified mail, and we can't get a response back from it. The cities, like I said, we're asking for condemnation of the property.
Okay. Does any board members have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When did you plan on tearing that, will the house be, when do you expect the house to be tore down?
The house next to it has just burned,
I know, so that's
So-
the next question I was gonna get to.
but we've already tagged that structure as well. We sent the letter out. We were gonna go ahead and wait the 30 days for that. Probably bring that structure back up here for condemnation as well, and probably try to get both of them at the same time. So
Okay.
I would say, my first thought this morning was 30 days, but after talking to Director Holly Bush, we probably need to wait till we get that done. So 60 days, maybe 90.
And you're aware of the trash in the back
Yes, sir.
portion of the house? And y'all came there and cleaned it
Yeah,
up?
we've actually
once?
cleaned that up once already. We caught the guy there. We gave him a citation, summoned us to court. He failed to show up to court for that, so he's got a failure to appear on him right now for that.
And I think he's currently incarcerated now.
Is he?
so-
Okay.
so that's okay. And the other question, I know it's not directly referent to this, but, if someone wanted to tear their house down, which over there on 1425 South Lincoln, I talked to the guy a few minutes ago, and he wanted to know as to why do he need to get a permit to tear his house down, and it's probably, the only thing is, it's worse than that, but it's not burnt, and that's one question he asked me I guess around about 4:30 as to why do you have to pay $23 to tear down a house that's been condemned and it's about already to fell down, and he wanted to know because he started on right there and then. I told him, well, I don't have the authorization to give you that. You know, you're going to get with Public Works for that, but he still just like said, why is that? Did that question be answered from anyone here.
Be addressed by Public Works, it's
Okay.
covered by ordinance.
Yeah, it's, everything has to have a permit to tear down, to demolish, or construct.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to ensure that the structure is safe to tear down, all utilities are off and all that.
And do you have a guideline that you use to go around just when you're gonna tear down houses in the future? Because, the reason why I'm asking that question is, I know I just recently drove around my ward, I counted about 110 houses that was dilapidated or disrepair or uninhabited. And this being, some of them been condemned probably maybe 5 to maybe 10 years ago.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you gonna gather some type of progress or some type of thing to go through instruction? Because see, I can give you maybe one like on 1500 block Hilltop and on Robinson Road, and then there was a house recently burnt on Jackson Spring. And would the Public Works take some type of criteria in tearing down a burnt house versus a house just dilapidated or disrepair?
I don't think there's any kind of order that would go in. But we've got, I think, 10 houses that are already condemned right now. Obviously, we've got a limited budget to tear down with. So all I can do is just basically go through those houses that I have ready to condemn, or ready to tear down, and see how much money I've got left over, and then bring the next new ones back to you guys for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sean, I have a question.
Yes,
Does the
ma'am.
money that we have allotted to tear these dilapidated structures down, does that come from Public Works?
Yes. Yes.
Do we haul the debris?
Yes, ma'am.
We haul it. Will you
Well,
take it to the
we-
new, or we,
We order dumpsters from Western Waste. We tear the structure down, put it in the dumpsters, and they haul it off.
Okay.
And they charge us for it. Okay. Is that it? Thank you, guys.
Anyone from the audience? Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak to this matter? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Cordia Metcalf, and I stood tonight because I am very concerned about the property there at 309 on Charles Street and the house that's next to it that has been burned also. Now, the lady who lives next to all that property, some of you may already know her. She's 98 years old, and she lives by herself. And basically, it's church members going in to check on her to see if she's okay and everything. And it broke my heart on yesterday when I went by there. Her son passed about 3 weeks ago, the one that was basically her caretaker. And now she's having to deal with not having her son. When we had the last storm, it knocked out all her phone service, so now she doesn't have a phone. And she's having to look at that property over there. House half burned down, no one's living there, the grass is growing. And she was just kind of in the dumps on yesterday, and it broke my heart. So I had told her that I would check today to see where we were for as a city in getting that property torn down. So I hope that the city will give that priority when they go to start, tearing down the houses that we've already decided that need to come down. She probably wouldn't be able to come and speak tonight, but I'm here to speak for her. So I hope we would certainly give that some special attention. Someone 98 years old, and I wish she could go by. She probably keeps her property better than anyone. You can go by there and she's on a walker trying to pull weeds out of the flower bed. And I think she just stopped cutting her own lawn here about 2 years ago. Well, that kind of person, I think we need to try to support her. And she tries to keep her place decent and in order. So I hope the city would not wait 90 days to go over there and try to help that lady out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Metcalf. Is there any other discussion? Anyone else? If not, this is an ordinance let's see, this is a resolution. So at this time, we'll instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
May I make a motion that be read in its abbreviated form?
Yes, you may.
This being a resolution and the severity of it, as there'll be some demolition potentially occur. Traditionally, we read those in their entirety. And after the public hearing is closed, it's just been done.
With no other, the public hearing is closed, so.
Whereas the Public Works Department has requested an order of condemnation under Section 11-87 of the Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances for the following property: 309 Charles Street, County Parcel Number 4710090. The legal description is Block 2, Lot 5, and all of Block 5 of Ords Robert First. The owner of record is Ola Mae Collins, 309 Charles Street, Texarkana, Arkansas. Whereas the owner of the listed property has been notified that the structure on the property is in violation of applicable law and code, including any applicable violation of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code and the International Property Maintenance Code, but little or no work has been done on the structure, and the allowed time period has lapsed for the owner to voluntarily bring the structure into code compliance. And whereas the Public Works Department has attempted to notify by certified mail the last owner of record of the property, informing them that the Board of Directors will consider declaring the structure, including all structures on the property, a nuisance. And whereas notice of the condemnation will be sent to the owner of record, allowing 30 days to obtain a permit for repairs or permit to demolish the structure and clear the property, failing which the city will have the right to demolish the structure after giving the property and owner at least 10 days in which to remove any personal property. And whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the above property is condemned under the provisions of Section 11-87 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, that the Public Works Department will provide the owner of record with notices of the condemnation and allow 30 days for repairs or demolition by such property owner, that the Public Works Department is authorized to demolish any of the above described structures that are not repaired or demolished within the 30-day period after giving the owner at least 10 days in which to remove any personal items, passed and approved this first day of July 2019.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve of the resolution.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Colabush,
Yes.
Odom,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. Resolution passes. So moving on to our next item on the agenda, which is our regular agenda, is item number 5, is to adopt an ordinance authorizing the issuance of sale of general revenue note series 2 for 2019 by the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, in the principal amount of $875,000. Finance Director Rhonda Henderson and Attorney Jim Fowler.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, Board of Directors, and City Manager Dr. Haskin. On May 20th, the Board of Directors approved Resolution 2019-20, authorizing the City Manager to seek proposals for Amendment 78 financing for capital improvements to the Animal Care and Adoption Center in the amount of $875,000. According to state statute, an ordinance must be adopted to finalize the issuance, sale, in terms of the note. The low bid was submitted by Regions Bank with an interest rate of 2.53%. Are there any questions?
I have a few.
Yes, sir.
I guess one of these would be, from Mr. Fowler, as far as, when I read through this document, I see it's a little bit contradictory to me where it talks about the taxability issue that could actually raise the interest rate on this loan to 3.37%. When you get back in the back of the actual note form, it says that the city's already determined that this does not qualify as a taxable entity. So which is it? Or is there another method we've got to go through before we'll find out whether we pay 337 or 255?
No, the bonds are tax exempt, and beyond that, they are also what's called bank qualified, which is actually a better tax exempt rate because you intend to issue less than $10 million in tax exempt bonds this year. The taxability provision is one that's commonly inserted by banks, and they asked that we add it in this case, that if these bonds are declared taxable for any reason, for example, if you change the use of the animal shelter for a private activity and lease it to a private activity, it could be declared taxable. So you have a covenant to keep the bonds tax exempt, and as long as they are, they will remain at the
And the interest rate remains the same.
2.53. You would have to do something to cause them to become taxable.
And I haven't studied Amendment 78 a great deal, but I'm assuming that there's a finance cap of 5 years, because it's quite a hefty payment that if we pass this ordinance tonight, we're agreeing to pay, and that's a hefty payment for a 5-year term on a structure that most people could get a longer term on, but by qualifying under Amendment 78, it's a max term of 5 years.
That's correct.
What I would see, Ms. Henderson, would be, I certainly support the animal shelter. I know that we have to do something about it. I know that we've got a structure there that is certainly not what it needs to be, and there's no more pain and not any more work that we can do to it. The issue we have here now that I see, and I would like to ask you a few questions about it, is basically we have till next year to figure out how to make this $188,000 loan payment that we're going to have to make for 5 years. But as it stands at this time, unless we find those funds would reduce the fund balance. They would be coming from the fund balance to pay unless we find some other measure in 2020's budget to meet this obligation.
Yes, sir. What we've experienced a continual increase in sales tax revenue and also an increase in property tax revenue, along with a slight increase in franchise fees. I've watched those all very closely to make sure that we have funding sources available. Also, the city issued this last Amendment 78 note in 2013, and it was paid for by 2018. So that there is money there also, and that note payment was very close to the same amount.
Okay. All right. And then do you know where our current fund balance is today? I know it's the first day of July, but maybe through the end of May, or have you speculated where we could be at the end of June?
No, sir. With the fund balance, it's hard to project that mid-year, especially with it only being June, because our two largest revenue sources are 2 months behind. So even though it's June, we only have 4 months of revenue for property tax and sales tax.
Right. Okay. All right. That's all I have. Is there any other discussion? Yes.
I got a question, but my question is really to you, based on what you was trying to ask, and what you did ask to us. I know you're a financial person. Do you kind of feel that we need to go this or look for more option, or what?
You're not gonna get a cheaper financing option.
If there's a cheaper rate, I would like to hear
I'd take it
The
anyway.
only issue I have is I've got to sign the note, so I want to make sure we can pay for it.
Okay.
And this interest rate was by far much lower
Yeah.
than the other interest rates we received. And the city is limited on our borrowing options. The only other option we would have would be to issue bonds. And you're stretching that note out over several years, and your interest rate is going to be much higher.
I just feel like that we can, I do support it. It is a very feasible way of financing. You're not going to find a better option. The options were shot. This was the cheapest option that we were presented with Regions Bank. And we'll find an option. We have the ability to pay it, but we should work in 2020's budget process and look at our continuation of our sales tax that are going up, and look in 2020's budget, and we'll have to budget for it and make provisions for it and move forward and get this problem taken care of. This problem is not going to go away, and it's just going to continue to get worse. But it is strapping the city so to do it right now, but I feel like that with everything going the way it's going right now, we'll find the money to pay for it.
Thank you.
With that being said, I move that the ordinance be read in abbreviated form.
All right, we have a motion to read the ordinance on its first reading in its abbreviated form.
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second to read the ordinance on its first reading in its abbreviated form. Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hollibush.
Yes.
Oden.
Yes.
Minor.
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of a general revenue note, Series 2019, by the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, in the principal amount of $875,000 for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, installing, and equipping a city animal shelter, providing for payment of the principal of and interest on the note, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency.
I move that we suspend the rules and place the ordinance on the second reading.
Motion to suspend the rules and have the ordinance placed in its second reading. It's abbreviated form. Is that a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hullabus,
Yes.
Odom,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of a general revenues note, Series 2019, by the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, in the principal amount of $875,000 for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, installing, and equipping a city animal shelter, providing for payment of the principal of and interest on the note, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency.
I move that the rule be further suspended and place the ordinance on third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to place the ordinance on its third and final reading. Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hullabus,
Yes.
Odom,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of a general revenues note, Series 2019, by the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, in the principal amount of $875,000 for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, installing, and equipping a city animal shelter, providing for payment of the principal of and interest on the note, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Move that the ordinance be adopted.
Okay, we have a motion that the ordinance be adopted. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Is there any discussion from any board members? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against this ordinance? If not, hearing none, Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hullabus,
Yes.
Odom,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. So the ordinance passes. This has an emergency clause attached to it. The city staff wishes to have an emergency clause. Do I hear a motion to consider an emergency clause?
So moved.
So we have a motion to
Second.
approve and a second to approve an emergency clause. Is there any discussion? If not, Heather, could you call the roll?
Teeters,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hullabus,
Yes.
Odom,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Peavy,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. So an emergency clause is attached to the ordinance.